While riding my bicycle with a group of friends in Coronado, the lead cyclist was pretty experienced, and he was teaching us how to ride in formation. And so we were all one behind the other. And when it was my turn to be behind the lead cyclist, I noticed that he occasionally pointed at the ground. And I asked him why he kept doing that. And he said he was pointing at the rocks and potholes because I would not be able to see them in time to respond and avoid it. And I wouldn't see it in time. So that's what the lead cyclist does. He has to point out the hazards. If we ponder this experience for a few minutes, we can immediately examine and find the significant meaning in the beyond the ordinary experience itself. For instance, a leader should lead others and warn them, and then we should follow the leader because they can see ahead and have a better view of what's ahead. And then once we have been warned, it's incumbent upon us to warn others. So grasping the meaning in ordinary experiences helps us to answer questions. It provides direction in our lives. It guides us to make right choices. It provides teaching opportunities and material for talks and journals. Finding analogies in everyday life can be done, and I say it can be done every day. It's a tool that I use to receive personal inspiration. You have to watch out for experiences, though. You have to pay attention, then pause, ponder, and perceive the significance. Unfortunately, people believe that revelation is revealed only in profound ways and to prophets, as it was to Moses when God spoke to him from a burning bush. However, President Faust taught us that normally inspiration comes by the still small voice through scriptures, prophets, and personal revelation. The Scottish poet Robert Burns wrote poetry about ordinary farm life. For instance, he wrote a poem called To a Mouse while plowing his field. It's about disappointment and failure. He wrote about this poor little creature whose house had been upturned and its prospects for rebuilding were dim because he had just plowed under all of the resources. It was the end of the season, it was before winter. And he said that the best laid plans of mice and men often go awry. This poem illustrates that we can gain insight from ordinary experiences. But you don't have to be a prophet or a poet. So one day I was standing at my kitchen window and I spied a lizard there, and I decided to try a Robert Burns poem. And I wrote a poem that I called To a Lizard. I'm going to spare you and not read it, but I will tell you the insight that I gained from it. A lizard has to bask in the sun to warm its muscles for strength, agility, and speed to be able to flee from predators. So I found an analogy that we need to worship the Savior daily to gain strength to be able to flee the adversary. As the lizard will die if it doesn't sun itself every day, then we can die spiritually if we do not worship the Savior every day. So I'm not a prophet or a poet, but I was able to develop an analogy and receive inspiration from an ordinary experience. In 2 Nephi 28:30, we read that God gives us revelation line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little and there a little. And he promises those that hearken unto his precepts and lend an ear to his counsel, that they shall gain wisdom. And that those who continue to listen to him, they will get more. And those who say we have enough, that he will take away that which they have. President Faust said that the amount of information that we get on cell phones and fax machines and emails is so vast that we're missing vital messages. And missing those messages has serious consequences. And some people are too busy to pause and ponder. But it doesn't take long to find analogies every day. Now, when I was preparing this talk, my husband was very skeptical. He says, analogies are not to be found every day. So I challenged him to give me an experience, any experience, and I would prove to him that it could be done. So he related a time when his daughter was visiting with her family, and she was trying to open the sliding glass door. And in the process of operating the lock, she was pushing when she should have been pulling, or vice versa, and it broke. The lock broke. And she was doing that because her sliding glass door, the lock operates a different way. So I asked my husband, well, what can you learn from that? And he said, well, not all locks operate the same way. And I said, well, okay, what can you learn from that? And he considered it, and he said, well, when it comes to raising children, they don't all respond to correction in the same manner. What unlocks one child won't work for another. And so we have to have different approaches for them. So that took less than a minute for us to draw out this conclusion from an everyday experience that happened. And so finding analogies can happen every day, and you can do it quickly. President Faust said, to be able to perceive by inspiration the common and ordinary things of life in their true meaning is a special gift. But he said many people fail to perceive inspiration because God's great power looks small unto the understanding of men. They are less and less astonished at a wonder or sign from heaven. You can find analogies in your daily activities, or in President Faust's words, you can perceive by inspiration the common and ordinary things of life in their true meaning. Pay attention, pause, ponder, perceive, and then put that into action. Practice what you've learned. This has worked for me as I learned from a lizard to pray and read my scriptures so that I could act like the Savior in my life. Thank you.